They love mocking Africans, but keep using our sounds.
Side eye, bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
Cute video, right? I actually followed this sister on TikTok, so when I first came by this video when it got posted, I was like, yeah, speak it, sis. On behalf of all of us on the continent and our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, please give them all the side eye. I was like, sis, thank you very much. Your eyes right now are a representative of our eyes. Give them all the side eye you can from all the angles possible. Because it's crazy how they love to associate with, grow their platforms, and profit off of our ideas and creation, but then they hate us, look down on us, and mock us. I really liked the video, so I hit the like button on the video and I kept it pushing. But then yesterday, I came by this video.
People on TikTok will never cease to surprise me. So you guys have seen how the bombastic side-eye trend has been going viral. I've seen a lot of people, even from different countries, translate it into their own languages, which is pretty cool. It's not the first African sound to go viral. There have been so many others. But it just made me realize, like many other things, that oftentimes people will mock Africans. We see it all the time here, but they'll use our stuff. And this is not something that just happens to Africans. It happens to anybody of African descent, whether you're African American, whether you're from the Caribbean, and not even just people of African descent. It happens to Asians, to Indians, to Native Americans. It happens to any group that has been marginalized in one way or another. That's the whole point of the video. Like, most of the videos I've been seeing with the bombastic side-eye lately are like edits made by Mindele. And I was like, oh, okay, so you guys are using this sound, but then you're gonna come and say that Africans have low IQs. We saw these videos here on TikTok. Or say that our languages, who happen to be some of the oldest languages in the world, sound like animal sounds. Or you'll make fun of our accents as if our accents are a measure of our intelligence, but you're using the sound. Anytime I make a video about Africa versus the world, and when I say the world, for the most part, it's Europe, considering Africa's colonial history with Europe, and Asia, considering Africa's history with Asia, whether you count the Arab slave trade, or even now Africa's neo-colonial history with Europe and Asia. I personally feel like, and I could be wrong, that most of the discriminations that Africans face come from a lot of Europeans and people of European descent, not all, obviously, and a lot of Asians and people of Asian descent, not all, obviously. We can see this through history, so in the past, but also presently. There are a lot of Asian immigrants in many African countries, and I've witnessed both the good, like a lot of my friends are from Lebanon, Pakistan, and I've also noticed the bad. A lot of the immigrants are also racist towards Africans, even though they live here. So why is it that when I make these videos, I always have a bunch of African Americans in my comment sections who think I'm talking about them? And I'm aware of the diaspora wars that happened here on TikTok, but anybody who has a basic level of general knowledge, I'm not even asking you to know that much about African history, will know that Africans also face racism and discrimination. If I went to my aunt today and I was like, these people, they like mocking us, but they use our stuff, she'll be like, yeah, Mindele Kakaboy. Her automatic assumption would be the primary people that we've had a problem with for centuries. And yet anytime I make these videos, I get comments like this from other black people. And this is not an attack. I have a lot of African American mutuals. Like, I'm not trying to attack anybody, but imagine how exhausting it is. I can't even make content to blow off steam about my own continent without having to explain my continent to people who don't bother learning anything about my continent. If you knew anything about African history, when you see this title, you'll be like, yep, they do that to us too. Because spoiler alert, somewhere down the line, we have the same history. Your African American ancestors, or your Afro-Caribbean ancestors, or your Afro-Latino ancestors are also my ancestors. We have the same ancestors. We've both experienced colonialism, slavery, bigotry, discrimination. So I just assumed in my mind that when you see a video like this, instead of attacking me, you would relate. The number of comments I've gotten like this, I don't even understand. Given this continent's history, why would you think I'm talking about you? On a surface level, comments like this irritate me because it's like, I shouldn't have to explain my content to you if you don't understand it. Like, if you're not African or you don't understand African history or culture, whatever, that's not really my problem, because I'm African in Africa making videos about my continent. You stumbled across my videos. So if you don't understand, either you say nothing because you don't get it, or you ask. but you automatically assume, go see those comments, to automatically assume I'm talking about you. It's so weird. It's like I see a video about India and Pakistan and people are talking about partition. I don't know enough about Indian Pakistani history to be in the comment sections like, yeah, well, it's funny that you guys know. I don't know. It's not funny. I don't know anything. If anything, I watch the video, I listen and I move on. I don't understand how you can comment on things that you do not understand and then be this rude and condescending about it. Imagine picking a fight with someone who wasn't even fighting with you. I'm talking about people who discriminate on Africans. So why would you assume I'm talking about other black people? As if other black people are the primary antagonists towards Africans.
Watching how very easily diaspora wars and beef start on TikTok, I've come to realize that it's something very simple that is causing our problem. One, on both sides, there is a lack of understanding. And two, on both sides as well, we have people who have this us versus them mentality. Three, the fact that we are not patient with one another. You would notice from watching diaspora wars that the Africans, African Americans, and Caribbean brothers and sisters who understand and have these three factors in check don't participate in diaspora wars. The only time you see this kind of Africans, African Americans, and Caribbean brothers and sisters participate in diaspora wars is them coming in to quench the fire. Like me, for example, I have all of this in check. You know what I do when I come by a crazy person that is trying to cause a diaspora war or is continuously instigating issues in the community online, saying crazy stuff, causing everybody to be angry. Take her, for example, on the screen. She's Kenyan, an African, right? But this one is obviously not for us. She is always starting something on TikTok, saying crazy stuff that gets African American people triggered. Like, she deliberately says things to trigger African Americans. She and her husband, a menace on TikTok, I tell you. Some people call her the Candace Owens of Africa. Even Kenyans are like, nah, we don't claim this one. Me, I don't play that us versus them game that leads to us taking sides, because to me there is no us, there is no them. To me, we are all one people living in different geographical locations. And that's why when I come by a black person, I don't care if you are African, African American, or Caribbean, I block expeditiously if I notice that your activities are activities that lead to us having a problem within the community. If your activity is looking like someone that they planted to come and divide us from within, when I notice say your way not pure, I'm like, oh, truly all skin folks are not kin folks. I mentally tick you as the enemy of the community you are portraying yourself to be, and I block immediately.
Because even though America as a country is involved in a lot of the terrible stuff that happens on this continent, spoiler alert, I don't even like politics, but that's not even a secret. It's even in your movies. Look at Black Panther. Anytime Africans will be like, Americans, for the most part, we're talking about the same Mindele Americans that you also complain about.
This part, and I'm very glad she brought it up in this video, because when we Africans are talking about America and what the country is doing to us, and we're rolling our eyes and we say those Americans, we're not thinking about black people, because we know the black people in America are not the source of our problem. So in this context, when we are like, Americans, we're thinking white people, white Americans. And this is why it's good that we communicate with ourselves more so we can understand ourselves better. And I could be wrong on this next point I'm about to make, and I stand corrected, but I think some of our people have that America first mindset and they operate on it, right? So for example, when an African American who have that America first mindset hear Africans say, Americans, they would think in our minds they are roped in as well. This is why understanding nuances is very vital when it comes to having effective conversations.
On a much deeper level, comments like this make me so angry, because it's so easy for so many of you and people like this, not all African Americans, I have to say that, but people like this, to assume that somehow you've had it harder. I don't understand this weird mentality of comparing problems. You think apartheid was fun? My sister was born during apartheid. You think apartheid was fun? That's segregation. You think colonialism was fun? I come from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Google Belgian Congo. See what comes. I don't even want to show you this image. If you don't want to read up on history, at least watch documentaries. Watch any one of these documentaries about colonial Congo and you will see. Or movies. Watch Sarafina. or Lumumba. Even palm trees in the snow, although it's not really accurate, but at least you'll have a vague idea about what happened in Africa during the 70s. They still had slave plantations in the 70s on this continent. But then you want to come to my TikTok account, minimize my experiences and the experiences of billions of people on this continent, including your ancestors, and make this about you. This is not a video to attack Black Americans or Afro-Caribbeans or Afro-Latinos or anything like that, but for the love of God or whatever the hell it is that you believe in, stop making things that aren't about you. This should have been the kind of video where you're like, oh yeah, they do that to us too. Yeah, because we see it here on TikTok. Black Americans will start trends, other people use it, but then they talk crap about Black Americans. We see it and it's terrible. Literally. So why would you not assume that we're on the same team? I'm so tired of this nonsense, as if the millions of things that Africans go through on a daily basis, and anybody of African descent or any person that's been marginalized, is not enough. You're going to look for more problems. You think a few children making jokes about fufu who happen to be Black in America is worse than, I don't know, the famine, starvation, exploitation of this continent? You think we don't have bigger problems than that? I don't even watch the news about my own country or continent because I cannot stand the stories. It's too much pain. It's too much. Watching the news makes me want to cry. Walking down the street makes me want to cry. You see all those little street children. You think we don't face enough problems, and then you're gonna come here, know nothing about Africa, not bother learning anything about our history, about our current situation, and you're gonna make this about you. The moment we choose to let off a little bit of steam with some comedy, with content that you should be able to relate to, considering the fact that, I don't know, we have the same ancestors and experience the same problems, you gaslight us, you minimize us, insult us, and make this about you. Guys, seriously. I don't want anyone in the comment section attacking each other, but like, guys, I can't even talk about my own continent in peace. Like, what am I supposed to do? This needs to stop. Everybody on both sides, I don't care where you're from, just stop being so insensitive all the time.
I was shocked when I saw this video because I never would have thought that any one of us would have seen this video and not know who exactly she was referring to. Even our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are shocked and wondering how and why the people who did not get the point in the video did not get the point in the video. I feel like in this day and age, with all the extra pressures we have to deal with in this world, some people have gotten to that point where they are like, exhausted and stressed, so it's easy for them to just see something and get triggered. But at the end of the day, we as a collective, we just need to try and stay calm. I know it's not easy, it can be frustrating sometimes, but we just need to try and stay calm and keep educating with love. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about the 3 factors I mentioned earlier as regards to the reason why we see this unending diaspora war? Do you think they fly? Do you have more factors you want to factor in as well? What do you think about this video that started out innocently but escalated into something that we never could have seen coming? Let's continue this conversation down below in the comment section, and of course I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.